Good afternoon. My name is Hoang My Vu, your speaker today. What motivates you to make decisions to change the direction of your life? Passion, success, prosper, happiness? For me, it didn't happen that way. It started out with extreme boredom. At that time, I was 26. I was a face noticed by the media of Vietnam. I had a scholarship for Bachelor of Art in filmmaking in the US. I was invited back to Vietnam to be the PR manager of the Miss Universe Vietnam 2015. I was an ambassador for big sport competition such as Ironman, Vietnam Mountain Marathon. I appeared in the position of vedette on catwalk, and I owned my first apartment. But deep inside, every day I feel negative emotions, confused, indefinite, disorientation. Everything around me become meaningless, not knowing what to do next. Have you ever faced that? In my most frustrating moment, I ask myself, why do I fall into this bad feeling? What I'm doing with my life? Am I doing something wrong? So boring. What should I do to feel happier? How can I pull myself out of this quagmire of boredom? All that boredom made me question myself. It was an inner dialogue with oneself. And I realized that what I really wanted internally was not what was going on. Maybe someone would tell you it's not the thing around you that determines your happiness. It's the inside that decides. That is right, but only when you have reached a certain level of awareness. For a young person who has not much experience, how could she deal with it? Then, do it like a young person. Drop everything, carry your backpack, go explore the world. It is also the way to connect with yourself. I was not sure what I was looking for and where could I find it. But I need a starting point for my trip, a certain world that I knew nothing about. I chose Israel, a legendary promised land with the people that said to be the most intelligent people in the world. The urge that I had to come to this land make it impossible for me to sleep. I picture me as a girl from the East arriving in the ancient city of Jerusalem. Suddenly, I felt my heart being relieved with emotion of curiosity, a desire to explore, and excitement. I want to know what's going on in Israel right now. I gave away everything. Keep only one suitcase because I want my life from now on as light as possible. But when I packed and arranged everything, I was faced with what could be said the biggest barrier: fear. I fear death. I'm afraid of being kidnapped, being raped, or starved to death somewhere. Maybe my carcass ended up to be in the desert as food for the birds. Just thinking about that scene gives me shiver. Then my mother will cry and not want to live, and people will curse me. What a crazy, stupid girl. My fear was not unfounded because the day before that, I also heard about kidnapping, terrorism happening in this area. I was packing my bag. Then I left it and went to my bed thinking, because I was too tired, thinking about the horrible situation that could happen to me. But then I thought that death that I'm really facing is the death of boredom. It's happening here and now. If I continue to fear this, the world trip forever will never be possible. Then I went back to packing, but that fear still stuck with me until I set foot in Israel. My first impression of the Promised Land was an amazing place, a place full of milk and honey, milk from wheat and honey from dates. This land become rich not by the gift of nature, but by the hands of people who live here. They have greened the barren land and make the desert bloom. The people here were also very kind, very intelligent, and they have a sense of humor. They always help me when they saw a girl with a backpack walking from place to place. I felt extremely happy because I didn't need to be anyone in the society. People still treated me so well. And at that moment, I was really satisfied when I could live a normal life under the most and honest and simple lens about people. But those happy days only last for a month. After that, I kept having problems with different people. And the climax was when I was chased by 3 men with guns and I ran for my life in the middle of the rainy night. After that, I wanted to go back to Vietnam immediately. But you know, if things turn out like that, I'm no different than a stubborn children who ran away from home, went out on the street and was beaten for a few times and then returned home with mom with a bag of nothing. Through that experience, I realized that I need to understand why people here, they live and behave in a very strange way. Sometimes they are very open-minded, like being able to invite a stranger like me home for dinner after less than an hour chit-chat. Other time, they are defensive and scare others into turning pale every time they go in and out of their territory. I decided to return to Israel, dive deeply into these people, got inspired and make a film about their wisdom and miraculous success. During the year of living, searching and making films in Israel, I have talked to many lives, many people, all walks of life, from scholar, mathematicians, Nobel Prize winner, military personnel, artists, farmer, anyone. And I was impressed with the understanding and perspective of each of them. I also have intense experience such as terrorist attacks, shooting happened near the place where I live. I also experienced 4 rockets fly straight from Gaza to Tel Aviv, and I have to run down and hide, and I hear the alarm. It's very scary. But after that extreme experience was excitement, and I found this life is so colorful and interesting compared to my boring life before. Following the footsteps of Israelis, 3 things I learned from this trip. First, the world is not as dangerous as it is shown in the media. So have the courage to hit the road and don't be afraid. Second, smart people can think of many solutions for the world with startups idea, but that doesn't mean that they can solve their own problem. And third, if we accept the difference between political views, religious beliefs, thought and lifestyle of others, then we can live peacefully with them. The pinnacle of acceptance is altruism. In Israel, I didn't find the greatest answer to the meaning of life, but the whole journey helped me to connect with myself and be more courage in the face of death. I returned to Vietnam right during the pandemic period, especially the fiercest period when Ho Chi Minh City locked down. Facing the 4 walls, the feeling of boredom once again appeared. And this time it's not panic, but it's the feeling of useless when you cannot do anything to make the pandemic situation better. Either I'm going crazy or I've got to get out there and do something about it. I can't just sit around and wait in vain. But when I'm accepted as a volunteer to support the front line against the pandemic, fear struck again. I wonder if I'm going to die. The death is more obvious this time. I picture my mother crying and crying again and again, and I had a quiet death that no one dared to be around, and I had a lonely death. But who is not dead? To die for a great cause is too satisfied. So I decided to go. Until the next day, when I put on a protective suit, walked into the outbreak, quarter 8, Bình Tân, I still thought I might die. The experience in Israel somewhat made me feel less afraid of when I face it. I think when you master the fear of death, you will have the courage to do anything. Participating in the role of frontline against the pandemic gives me a perspective for many issues. The ugly thing that exists in society that we live, and the noble thing that makes us so warm and hopeful. The first day when I put on the protective suit, it was suffocating hot. From inside the stretched protective suit, I shout, "Please line up far away from each other to avoid cross-contamination." And what I got was a punch right in the back from a man. They took their anger out of us when they had to wait for too long and thought someone else took their position in the line. People come to line up from 2:30 in the afternoon, but until 5 p.m., the medical staff come because they are overloaded and understaffed. The heat, chaos, jostling, and quarrel right before my eyes. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is how the world leading anti-epidemic country is doing? At that moment, I felt the fight against the pandemic would be extremely difficult. That same day, I saw a father carry his atrophied son, who is taller than him, through a long line to collect samples. A 7-month-old pregnant woman held hands with an elderly mother came to line up. Many elderly people could not stand for a long time. And there were children who are about 6 or 7 years old lining up to take samples by themselves. When I saw that scene, I felt bad. I arose within me a compassion for what these people are going through. I know I need to be more patient and gentler. Working together is not easy, especially a job where I see a lot of people want to direct the others. Before we could start our work, it's like an hour of debating. Sometimes there is a debate in the team, sometimes the debate between the coordinate team and the ward team, sometimes it's between the ward team and the doctor. And then the doctor with the coordinating team. Sometimes arguing about finding the way to do it drains our energy. But if we do not find a common voice, we cannot win this fight against the pandemic together. A polite attitude of letting go of the ego is essential in this case. And the positive thing that I see, first, love and sharing have never been as much as now. And second, thanks to learning that big lesson from the pandemic together, human awareness raised to a higher level. 3 great things that I learned through this epidemic. First, when you want to contribute, you don't have to do big things. A bag of food for the one who really in need is also a big thing. Second, be patient and tolerant when even people behave irrationally toward you. And third, just like human body, nature needs rest. My experience on the front line against the pandemic have helped me to connect with people and do meaningful things together. In both times, I was afraid to choose not to move forward. I probably wouldn't have learned the lesson so profoundly. Those all experiences are turning points that mean a lot to my life. So, if at some point you face with extreme feeling of depression, it's probably a message from within that a big change needs to happen, and have the courage to let it happen. Thank you.